Hello, everybody. I'm Bernie Goldberg with a question for you. Why is there so much talk about Stephen A. Smith possibly running for President of the United States of America? And here's an even better question. Why is there any talk about Stephen A. Smith running for president? Stephen A. is a sports journalist who works for ESPN. He's smart, he knows what he's talking about, but that's not why he's famous. He's famous because he's brash, because he's over the top, because he's dramatic, because when he wants to make an important point, he doesn't speak it, he shouts it. Most of all, Stephen A. Smith is entertaining. And in the United States of entertainment, being an entertainer can go a long, long way. So Stephen A. shows up on news programs and doesn't talk about sports, but is questioned about politics, about Donald Trump, about whether he plans to run, about the Democratic Party of which he is a member, a party that he says has gotten way too woke and would have to purge itself before he ever thought about running. So even though he says he's not interested in running for president, he also says something else that I think is important. He says, and these are his words, "I have no choice but to keep the door open to a possible run." And why is that? Because he tells us he's been approached by people in the political world, by elected officials who say, "Are you going to run? Will you run?" Are interested in whether he's going to run. And people with a lot of money who say they'll finance his campaign and exploratory committees to see if it's feasible for him to run. So let me ask you this. What does this tell us about the state of American politics, that a sports guy with no experience in the world of politics is considered a possibility as a candidate for president? Well, I think it tells us that a lot of us have lost faith in politics and politics as usual in the United States and the political system at large. It's why we elected, well, I say we, it's why Americans elected Donald Trump in 2016. He wasn't a politician, he was an entertainer. So do I think Stephen A. will actually run next time around? Would I bet my own money on whether he'd run? No, the truth is I wouldn't. And it's not only because he claims he's not really interested. I wouldn't put money on it because he just signed a new 5-year contract with ESPN that's worth, buckle your seatbelts, folks, that's worth $100 million or $20 million a year. Being president only pays a measly $400,000 a year. But I'll give the last word to Stephen A. himself, who has said, "You never know what God has planned for you." Or to put it another way, he's keeping the door open. So stay tuned, my friends. And this is important to me. I'd like to know what you think. I'd really like to hear from you. I appreciate your listening. I thank you for listening. Stay tuned. And until next time, I'm Bernie Goldberg.